Hi, everyone. My name is Julia,
And I'm Katie.
and welcome to our 20th episode of the Runways and Byways travel podcast. We're so glad to have you back, and we're so glad to finally be doing this episode. We've been having this idea in our head for a long time, waiting to talk about it. So we're finally talking about it. And this time we are talking about Japan. And I know that's a really popular topic. A lot of people are kind of infatuated with Japan, and I went in 2018. So it's been a while, but I do want to share my Japan story because it was probably one of the most amazing trips of my life, if not the best. So I'd like to,
Wow.
yeah, which is a bold statement because I've been on a lot of trips. It's just such a unique destination, and it just stood apart from the rest so much. So I'm really excited to talk about it and share my experience. I don't think I've ever shared it with you, Katie, or Michael. We have Michael here.
Hello.
So if you remember Michael, he's been in a few episodes. So Michael's back. And I don't know if you remember, if you heard the Dream Destination episode, Michael was in that, and he shared that his dream destination is Japan. So we figured he had to be here for this one.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So any opening remarks, anything to say before we jump into the trivia question?
I just want to say I'm really excited for this episode because, like Julia had said, she went pretty long time ago, years ago. And obviously, I've asked her about it, but to go into extreme detail is something we've never done. And I really don't know too much about Japan. I know it's very modern and they have very unique things, but I'm really curious to hear what more there is to it. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, I think at the time you had just asked me like, "Oh, how was Japan?" And I was like, "Great." And then that was kind of it.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah, so we never really discussed any of this. So this, yeah, first time for everything. Even though
Well, it's good we have this podcast because I feel like when people go on trips, normally that's the conversation. It's like, how was it? It was great. And then that's kind of it. You don't really have like an hour-long conversation of, and this is what I did, and then I did this and this and this and all that stuff. So it's really cool. We could do this.
yeah, and then you could never
Yeah.
really decide for yourself if it's truly somewhere you want to go just based off there. It was great. Like that doesn't really help you. But once you know all the details, you could say like, "Oh, I like that. I don't like that. Maybe this is not the place for me. That sounds like my dream
Hmm.
destination." Like you
Mm,
can't do that based off like a simple conversation with your friend. So, yeah, this is really
definitely.
helpful.
Exactly. Yeah, so I'm really excited. It's been a long time coming.
It really has. How long has it been? 2018. I'm not good at math. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20,
4 or
years.
5 years.
Five
Yeah.
Wow.
years.
Almost 5 years. I went in May or June, I believe. Yeah. So,
Wow.
yeah, coming up 5 years. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So that is our topic for today. We're going to jump into that in a little bit, but this week is Katie's trivia question.
Yes. And it's an exciting one. It's different. If anybody gets it, I'd be very surprised. So the question for this week is, what is the first country that granted women the right to vote?
Oh, I used to know this.
Oh,
Mm, I used to
I
know
feel like
this.
I heard this somewhere before.
I'm going to get it wrong, but just I will get it wrong, but just have you know for your own knowledge that I did used to know this.
Is
Okay,
it North Korea?
Michael.
I hope that's a joke.
That was a joke. I was waiting for the laughter, but it never came.
You didn't laugh at
No,
your own joke, so
I
I
I
was
think
like,
there was more concern on the on my co-presenters
it
thinking,
was
is
concern.
he joking, or does he really
This is
think
why we
that's
don't invite Michael.
yeah, I was like, I don't think he gets it.
Anyway, no, that is not the answer.
Really?
Good guess. It is not. You have any guesses, Julie? Any first thoughts?
See, the thing is, I'm afraid to say something because I used to know it, and then I just don't want to put my foot in my mouth. But
Hmm.
yeah, I don't know. I have to think because I don't know. It's just really bothering me that this used to be prior knowledge that I had, and now it's slipped away from me, and I'm gonna lose the point. This
Julia,
Well, I'm
you're not
sorry. This
thinking
is
the US, right?
no,
It's not us.
it's
Okay.
not us. I mean, you could guess us if you want, but it's not us.
No, I feel like it's not us.
I don't think it is.
Was it the French?
Could have been the
Hmm.
French.
all right. How about you guys mull this over?
Well, yeah, we'll mull it over for now.
Yes, we will have an answer for you by the end.
Okay. A real answer this time.
Yes.
Hopefully, no promises though.
North Korea. All right.
All right.
Are we ready to jump right into things?
I'm
Oh,
ready
yeah.
and I'm excited.
So excited.
I'm excited. I'm a little anxious because I haven't spoken about Japan in so long, but I am excited to talk about it just because I haven't spoken about it in so long, and it's just
Yeah.
bringing back memories.
Yes, I'm excited to
Yes.
hear your memories. Okay, so first question is, what made you even want to go to Japan?
Okay, so I actually didn't want to go to Japan. It
Oh.
was that's an interesting starter because normally normally the answer is, oh, I really wanted to go for years, this and that, but I really had no desire to go to Japan. And at this point, I was not like, I liked traveling at this point, but I wasn't as into it as I am now. So I wasn't like sitting there with like my list of destinations and all that. Japan never crossed my mind at that time. And a friend that I had gone to Spain with came up to me and she was like, listen, I want to go to Japan. The school is hosting this trip. I really want to go to Japan. And she told me like, I want you to come with me. And I was like, like I'll go, but I don't know. It's just like, whatever. So I signed up for the trip. I was like not super into it. I don't know why. Like it just never really, the excitement never built in my head. I was just, I don't know. I think that makes for the best trips sometimes because you're not that excited. You don't have that many expectations. So then when you get there, it's like, wow. So that was kind of what happened with me. And then she actually wound up almost like backing out of the trip. And because her brother is in the military and he was going to be home for that week or something. So she wound up almost backing out of the trip. And I was like, oh no, now I need to go alone. Like I don't even want to go to begin with. And so that was kind of a challenging like week for me to sort through things. Like, do I still even want to go here? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to make the best of it. But then she wound up like backing back into the trip. So she was like, you know what? Like, I'll see my brother again, or maybe, I don't know what happened. So she did wind up going. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of the whole decision process. Like, I was just kind of going along because she wanted to go. But honestly, I'm so glad I went.
Oh, and you said it was it was sponsored by the school?
Yeah, so it was through my college.
Through your college. And this person was the only person that you knew that was going.
I did wind up knowing a couple other people that were going, but I wasn't close with them by any means. Like we had just like had a class or two together or like seen each other around. So she was the only one that I was actually like friends with going. So if I were to go into it without her, I would have essentially been going alone.
Okay. And it was paid for by the college?
No, we paid for it.
Okay.
So I mean,
right,
it's discounted. Like when you travel through school, normally it's a lot cheaper. So I remember the trip came out to about $3,000, which is a lot less than you would normally pay to go to Japan.
Got it. Yes. Okay.
I think it would probably be about double if I tried to go to Japan without school.
Wow, what a great deal.
Yeah. Yeah, school really has good deals if you're in college and looking to travel. I'd say definitely go as many places as you can with your school because they get all these group discounts that you just can't get traveling on your own. Yeah.
Very nice.
So, yeah, that's kind of what made me, quote unquote, want to go to Japan.
Nice. I love that. I love how you just kind of stumbled upon it. I feel like you said, those could sometimes be the best trips because you go in with no expectations and you're like, I'm just looking to see what happens. And that's really cool.
Yeah, I think some of the best trips just fall into your lap and aren't the most like intensely planned out because yeah, you get your hopes up and then you get there and you're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, so I'll do my question next. Julia, tell us more about the planning process for the trip.
So there pretty much was no planning process because like I said, I went through school. So essentially I just filled out the forms, gave them my money, and that was pretty much it. And then we just had to go to a couple meetings and like learn about like what to do in Japan, what not to do in Japan, because you know it's a very culturally different society. So we want to be respectful to their culture. So we did have to go to a couple meetings to just discuss trip logistics and cultural things to be mindful of. So I think, but other than that, there was not that much planning involved. Like the school really handled everything because we went through a travel agency that was associated with the school.
Oh, that's very nice. The fact that you had the school to kind of take care of most of the things for you. And for people listening, anything interesting that you still remember about tips about when you go there
Yeah.
in regards to their culture and being respectful to the local people?
Yeah, so they have a very quiet culture. So they especially made it a point to tell us this because, we're loud American college kids. So, and Japan is very quiet, very respectful. So if they hear you like walking down the street being super loud or like in the subway, just like talking, like even at like the volume I'm talking now, they're going to be like, whoa. So
Wow.
it's a very different culture that's considered like almost like disrespectful in their culture. And like they'll obviously already know I'm a foreigner, but that just makes you stick out like a sore thumb. So I think it's
Got
just
it.
part of like the respect of the culture. Like you just be quiet and just kind of like keep to yourself, be like in nature, peaceful. It's just that's how the people are there. So that was one thing they sort of warned us about. If you're going into like someone's house or even the hotels, you would have to take your shoes off, and sometimes they would give you slippers to wear. So that
Oh,
was
wow.
strange. And there was one hotel actually we didn't even have beds. We had to sleep on the floor on mats because that's just how the culture is, like traditional Japanese. We could discuss this later. I can go into this hotel, but it's just that's like they were teaching us like all the traditional Japanese things. Now, one thing I learned while I was there that kind of threw me off,
Yeah.
bring hand sanitizer. They don't use soap, and I don't know why. So
Really?
I mean, maybe things have changed since COVID, but like every bathroom I went to, there was no soap, and I was like, this is disgusting. So
Wow.
Wow.
yeah.
I never heard that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was so weird. And they didn't tell us that before. And I wish they did because I would have brought so much hand sanitizer, but I didn't bring any because it was pre-COVID. So I was like, whatever. And and I got every time I went to the bathroom, I was like, this is the nicest bathroom in the world, but there was no soap.
No soap.
Wow.
Okay, important tip for anyone wanting to visit Japan. Bring
Yeah.
hand
Yeah.
sanitizer.
Especially now. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
That's so
I'm
interesting.
thinking I'd like to think that things have changed, being that COVID has happened. So maybe they're more into hygiene now. I mean, not to say that they're not hygienic, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's a different culture. So like,
What about when you shower? I mean, you can't use hand sanitizer, right?
I mean, I'd like to think they use shower soap. I think I brought my own shower soap. I'm not sure. I don't remember what the shower soap situation was, but I believe I brought my own. I should have just carried around my shower soap with me.
Yeah.
And then I remember at the end of the trip, like the school gave us a survey and they were like, write down one thing you learned about Japan. And I was like, you don't need soap to be happy.
That's a good one.
You can't say that in today's time.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that didn't age well.
Yeah, it was not age. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
So transitioning, if you want to just kind of jump into the itinerary.
Yeah, so the itinerary is long, to say the least. I mean, I was there for, I think, about 10 days, but to give you a synopsis, we left from home and that took about a day to get to Japan. And then we
Wow.
spent about 2 days in Kyoto. And then we went from Kyoto to Himeji. That was like a day trip. And then from Himeji, we went to Hiroshima. So that was kind of, we stopped in Himeji on the way to Hiroshima. Then we spent like a day or two in Hiroshima. And from there, we went to Miyajima Island, which is part of Hiroshima. And then from there, we went to Hakone, which was more like a stopover on the way to Tokyo. And then we spent a few days in Tokyo. So that's like a synopsis of everything. So do you want me to go into the day by day, what I did in each place?
Yeah, you can just give like an overview of each day, just so we have an idea of what you did, what there is to do, all that
Yes.
stuff, how you felt.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into too much detail because like I said, it was a long trip. We did so much, saw so much, but I'll go into like the major sites, I guess,
Yeah.
like the must-sees of each place. So, I mean, starting by how I got there, we flew so Tokyo has two airports. There's Tokyo Narita, and there's another one that's name's escaping me. but they have 2 airports. So we flew into Narita. And then, but like I said, we didn't do Tokyo first. We did Tokyo last. So we wound up flying from Tokyo to Osaka. And we actually didn't go to Osaka, but Osaka is the closest airport to Kyoto. So, and I actually had the best udon noodles at the airport there. So good.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Wow.
We were just like waiting around, like waiting for the group to get together and whatnot. So yeah, I was like, I'm gonna get udon noodles. So good. Probably the best ones I had the whole trip. And yeah, I was like, oh, is this what Japanese food tastes like? And the rest of the trip, honestly, I didn't eat. I just had rice like the whole time because they eat like only fish and it's disgusting.
To you.
Yeah, to me. But I was like, I cannot do this. So,
Yeah.
Sticky rice the whole time. But
Wow.
yeah, so from the Osaka airport, we made our way to Kyoto, which was actually my favorite part of the trip. So it was a great way to start it off because Kyoto is really, you feel like you're in Japan. Like you feel like you're back in ancient Japan. It's very cultural, and they actually consider it the cultural center of Japan. So it doesn't feel like very city. It feels like you're just transported into old ancient Japan. And so the first place we went to in Kyoto is, and excuse my pronunciation, like I'm so sorry, but I don't know what I'm doing, but it's Otagi Nenbutsu-ji temple. And this temple was actually really cool because they had this, like these rock sculptures everywhere. So like they like rock gardens, if you will. I'm not really sure, but they're just like just rock sculptures everywhere. I'm showing Katie and Michael a picture right now.
Looks very pretty.
It's very beautiful. I loved, and it was so quiet. We were like the only people there. So it was just very spiritual, just walking through and seeing all the old ancient Japanese sculptures. And I don't even know if you can call these rock sculptures. I'm not really sure what they are. Maybe they're sculptures, but it was really very peaceful. And this was like one of the first things we did, if not the first thing. So it was very, very pretty. And at each shrine or temple that you go to, they sell these little books. And I don't remember what the books are called, but at each place, they'll sign the book with some Japanese writing. And I don't know what it says because I don't speak Japanese. It could literally say anything, but I think it says something. I think it says something about the temple or wherever you are, the temple or shrine. Like I think it might say like the name of it or something about it. I'm not 100% sure. So they'll sign. Yeah, so they'll sign the book for you, and it's kind of nice. You could collect that, and everywhere you go, you'll have like a different Japanese writing in it from that specific shrine or temple. And so they sell that at pretty much every single shrine or temple. So like if you don't have one, don't worry, you can get it there. And also they sell these good luck charms. They look like tea bags almost, and each one means a different thing. So I got the good luck driving one and I hung it up in my car, but that was
very smart.
No, that was actually like, I think they're like cursed. I don't know. because I put it up in my car, had 3 accidents, took it down, have not had one since.
Wow.
Yes. So
maybe you didn't tip the person
right
enough or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know but there's some sort of magic in them. I don't know what it is. Maybe I did it wrong. I must have done it wrong because it brought me bad luck. But
wow. They probably didn't activate it before they sold it to you or something.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. But they are quote unquote good luck charms. And yeah, like each one means a different thing. So I actually got, I think mine was either like it was a green type of color. And they'll tell you what it means. Like if you ask them like, oh, I'm looking for a good luck charm for driving or love or this or that, like they have so many of them. They had like 50 of them. So they have them for like everything.
Cool.
Yeah. So that was interesting. Don't get the driving one. It's been tested out and
good advice.
Yeah.
From Julia.
Yeah, there's definitely some magic in there, but I don't know if it's good magic. Yeah. So that was the first temple. And like I said, you can get those things at pretty much every temple. So any questions, comments before I move on to the next thing we did?
We're just looking at the pictures that Julia's showing us. Very, very scenic, very beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very zen.
Very zen, very peaceful.
That's how Kyoto is. Kyoto is very zen. I mean, if you're looking for like the modern Japan vibe, it's not Kyoto. I mean, you could get that a little bit there, but not as much. You really need to go to Tokyo for that.
Tokyo. Got it.
Kyoto's very spiritual, and it actually was my favorite place. I wish we could have stayed there longer. And if I could go back, that's where I would go back to.
Yeah, that's more of like mine and Katie's kind of vibe, right, Katie?
Yeah, nature, zen.
Yeah, I'll get into it, but they do have like a little town. That's where the bamboo forest is. I know. When Katie and I were stalking Michael on Facebook, we saw he
good times.
posted a picture of the bamboo forest that like he wanted to go to. So this is where the bamboo forest is. It's in Kyoto, but I'll get to that. Yeah. So I think if you guys were to go to Japan, I'd say Kyoto would be where it's at for you.
Yeah, that sounds really cool.
Yeah, but I'll get more into that as we go along. So the next place we visited was another temple, and excuse my pronunciation again, and in advance, excuse my pronunciation for every single Japanese thing I say, because I don't speak Japanese, but it's Kinkakuji Temple. And yes, maybe, I don't know.
That sounds right.
Yeah. Kinkakuji for those of you who are listening and want to look it up. And it is gorgeous. So it's like a golden temple, and it's on the water. It's very peaceful, very beautiful. And we did not go inside. I don't know if you're allowed to go inside, but we didn't. I'm not sure if you're allowed to, considering we didn't, but it's very, very beautiful. It's one of the most popular places, if not the most popular place to visit in Kyoto. And oh yes, I see here that you're not allowed to go into the Golden Pavilion itself, but you walk around. It's very beautiful. It's almost like a park, and they have like these big, beautiful lakes, and it's very spiritual. It is more crowded than the other one because, like I said, it's more popular. It's one of the more popular things to do in Kyoto. So you can expect more of a crowd, but it's still very peaceful, very, very beautiful. And it was actually really cute here because there was some schools, Japanese schools that were here. And I think they had like an assignment through school to go up to like some like tourists and ask them questions. And so they came up to us with like a little notebook, and they were like, "What is your name? What's your favorite color?" And it was so cute. Like I think they were trying to learn English. Yeah.
That's really cute.
And then at the end they were like, "Can we take a picture with you?" So it was so cute.
Aww.
Yeah.
That's really sweet.
So I do have a picture with them, actually. I don't have it pulled up on my screen. I could show you guys later if you want.
That's adorable.
Yeah, but me and my friend have a picture with one of the little Japanese school kids who were trying to learn English from us. Really cute. It's actually funny going to Japan because that wasn't the first time that happened to us. Like a lot of Japanese people, I think they don't see Americans that often. And I was approached several times for like a picture.
So, wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, an American. Yeah. I gotta get a picture of this.
I felt famous.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, so it's kind of something I didn't expect going there, but it was really interesting. It was cute. Like I said yes every time.
Wow.
Yeah, so any questions or comments about that golden temple? Really beautiful, but not much more to say on my part beyond that. It's just somewhere nice to walk around, I guess.
Katie?
Yeah. No, it just seems really cool, like a very spiritual experience, which I love.
Yeah, it's gorgeous.
I'm curious actually about that last temple. It looks very remote. So in terms of food, like did you have access to a place to get some food in between seeing these temples?
Good question.
Or not really?
Yeah, so despite how remote this temple looks, it's actually not super remote because, like I said, this one is more of a popular tourist destination. So there actually were like a bunch of paths and people. You'd be running into people pretty much the whole time. And I don't remember the exact food situation, but I don't remember it being an issue. I actually think there may have been food stands. Don't quote me on that by any means, but I think there may have been. So it wasn't, if anything was remote, it's actually the first temple that I spoke about with you. Like that was literally off of like a dirt road. This one was a lot more popular.
You can't tell by looking at the picture, honestly.
Yeah, you can't.
You really can't.
It puts you into like this whole like world once you step into it. But in reality, like there was people around, there was paths that you can go down, and there was a ton of people around. So it wasn't
Okay,
like,
got it.
it was
'Cause
very peaceful, but in a different way, I guess.
because looking at it, I would think that I'd have to like pack food in a bag before the
No.
trip. But yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
I mean, like I
Mm.
said, I don't remember if there was food stands around, but this was definitely more populated. And I think, I don't know, bring a granola bar. Can't hurt.
Bring a granola. Good advice.
Because probably if they do have food, it's probably fish. So
Fish.
something weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is that. But yeah, it's not as remote as it seems.
Hmm.
But any more questions about that, or do you want me to move on?
Good move on.
We can
Okay.
move on, yeah.
So the next place we visited, and this is like another must-see of Kyoto, is Nijo Castle again. Sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And it is, I believe it was the castle of the first shogun of the Edo period. And
Wow.
I don't know what that means, but it sounds like Michael knows what that means.
No, I'm just looking at the pictures that you showed.
Yeah.
It looks incredible.
Yes. So I read online that the shogun actually purposely built this near the imperial palace to like demonstrate his power to the emperor because he was trying to take over. So it's actually, that's why it's so like showy and ornamental and like really like all the
It's a
gold.
power move.
Yes, it's a power move. So really pretty. I actually can't remember if we went inside. It's been so long, but it is one of the most popular castles in Japan. It's definitely one of the most famous in the whole country. So this is like an absolute must see.
Mm.
And I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say about it because like I said, I don't remember too much more about it besides that. But it's really beautiful and it's different in a sense than all the other temples. Like it has like a different type of architecture. It's almost like samurai-like.
Yes, very much. Very much
Yeah.
so.
Meanwhile, the other ones are more like Zen, but this is a little different. So
More aggressive looking.
very
More
aggressive.
sharper, more. That's what
Yeah,
I see.
that's a good
Like a
word to describe
warrior.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was really interesting seeing like almost like two sides of Japan going to this.
This
Coming,
was definitely not built by the monks.
no.
You could tell. Not the peaceful ones.
No, they were going to war.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, it's very interesting. It's coming from those peaceful, zen, quiet temples to this like big showy gold, and I mean, the other one was gold too, but this is like a different type of gold, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that.
Yeah, can't wait to see the next one.
The next one was actually my favorite. So
Oh wow.
the next one is called, again, sorry, Byōdō-in Temple, BYODO-IN Temple. So this one was my favorite just because of the architecture. So it wasn't super remote, so it was kind of like that golden one that I showed you. It was kind of like it was more populated because it is one of the more popular temples. And I believe you can go inside. I believe I walked through, but I actually always prefer the outside. I never really remember the inside too much because the outside is just always so stunning. So
Yeah.
Really?
I believe I'm not sure if there was multiple buildings. There was at least this one that I'm showing you right now, and I'll put some pictures into the video when I make it for YouTube. But it was just this beautiful big red, I don't know if you could say pagoda. I'm not really sure if that's the correct word, but beautiful red temple, big on the water. It had like that Japanese bridge, the red bridge. And so it was just like when you pictured Japan in your head, I was like, okay, this is Japan. Like just that whole architecture. I loved this temple personally.
It's breathtaking.
It
This
really
one.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was definitely, I think definitely my favorite. And actually it's in a small town called, I don't know how to say it again, sorry. UJI, so maybe Uji. And that's where the temple is located. And they're actually known for having the best green tea in all of Japan. So I can't speak to it personally because I don't like green tea. And like everyone was having the green tea the whole trip. And I was
We love green tea.
We
Green tea.
love
do.
green tea.
Yeah, so go to Uji, I guess.
Okay.
We
Although
have to.
you can get green tea pretty much everywhere in Japan. You cannot turn one corner without getting smacked in the face by like a million advertisements for green tea.
Yeah,
So,
but this
Love
is
that.
the best green tea.
but yeah, the best green tea, go to Uji, I guess. So, which is where this temple is located. So yeah, if you're going to this temple, it should be pretty easy in the surrounding town to get some green tea. So,
Ooh.
I mean, let me know if it holds true to its reputation. I mean, hopefully I'll go back in the future, but I know you guys might have more immediate plans, even though
We'll bring you some.
yes, even though I know we were talking about when we had kids about bringing them all to Tokyo, Japan. So maybe that'll still be a plan. We'll see.
That'd be
That-
fun.
that'd
Because
be
they have the Toy Story hotel there.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah, so maybe in a few years, maybe we can all go together and take the kids to Tokyo Disney.
That'd be cute.
Yes.
oh,
Is that what I
nice.
said? Did I say Tokyo Japan before? I meant Tokyo Disney.
Yeah, you said
Yeah, I
Tokyo,
think
Japan.
it's Japan. You said Japan.
Oh God. Yeah. I meant Tokyo Disney.
Yeah.
Tokyo
Disney
Disney,
sounds
that'd be
more of
really
their
fun.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's one thing I didn't get to do on my trip that I really want to do. And I feel that would be really fun, like when we have kids. I know Katie and I
That'd be
discussed
so
that a
much
while
fun.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like a different cultural experience, but at the same time, like you're going to Disney. So it's like, what more can you ask for?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so that was the Byōdō-in temple, however you choose to say it. Any questions, comments before I move on?
No.
Okay.
I actually do. So you said that you prefer seeing the outside, but do you know, for people that might want to go, is there like a separate fee to go on the inside, or is
For
it all
some of
included?
some of the temples, yes. For this particular one, I do not remember.
Okay.
But I do remember some of the ones in Tokyo, we did need like an entrance ticket.
Okay. Sometimes you have to get a ticket to go in, and do you have to get them like far in advance, or do you know?
I do not know, unfortunately, because the school got them. But I know like
Oh, okay. Makes
one
sense.
one specific place we went in Tokyo, it was like the Imperial Gardens, which I'll get to, and it was like they gave us like this dramatic like pass to go in, and it was like that
Really?
one I feel like you might need to get in advance. I'm not 100% sure. It was like kind of weird, the pass that they gave us. But I think I mean I always like to play on the safe side, so if you know you're planning on going
Hmm.
somewhere, just look into it in advance and buy it in advance because that's just what I do. But I mean,
Okay.
of course, like if I'm sure there's options for like last minute type of people too. Just I'm a preparer personally. But yeah,
Yeah. Very interesting. Very
the
good.
school did everything for us, so we really didn't need to do anything, and I was fortunate in that sense because Japan's hard to navigate. Not many people know English, and I should have mentioned this before
Mm.
when we were discussing like things to know before going to Japan, that
Mm.
even in Tokyo, you're not going to meet that many people that speak English. So really you need to I don't want to say you need to go with a tour, but you need to have a lot of Japanese in your back pocket or you really need to have like a very solid plan. So I would say pretty much anything. I wouldn't just show up and be like, "All right, I'm here. Like let me in.
Mm.
Let me." So cuz
Yeah.
it's very hard. Yeah. I had a very difficult time. Like the few times that I separated from my group, I needed something. My friend had stepped on I think she stepped on like a pencil or something and she got like a really big cut in the bottom of her foot. And I was
Oh,
going around to all the stores looking for like a band-aid for her. And nobody understood what I was saying. I was trying to like act it out for them. And this was in the heart of Tokyo. So you would think like people would
Wow.
know some English and everyone was like, what? So it was and of course my translator wasn't coming up. So I think just
Mm.
in general, going to Japan, plan ahead everything. Don't just show up anywhere and be like, all right, give me a ticket to go in. I think just everything plan ahead because it's just a very different culture.
Very, very
But I
useful
feel like
information.
Tokyo Disney, I wonder if they speak English there.
I would hope they do,
I
but
think they must, right?
yeah. But then again, that's what I thought about Tokyo too, just as a whole. Like they're a very modern city. Like you think like just all cities in general, like English is like almost like a second language, just everyone learns it. But that was not the case at all. I was trying
Mm.
like I could get like maybe one or two English words out of people. It was like really very low rate of people speaking English.
That actually makes sense from what I heard about Japan is that they're very they're very conservative and they do want to keep their way of life.
Yes.
And they're not really big into assimilating and adopting for. I think they even have like limits on tourism every single
Do
year.
they?
They have like a quota, yeah. From what I've
Wow,
read, they have like a limit of how many people they let into the country every year.
that's
So yeah.
interesting.
Hmm.
And actually, like that does make sense because even though I said like some of the temples were more crowded than others, none of them were crowded to the point where it was like, oh my God, I gotta get out of here. Like
Hmm.
it was still like it still retained the peace of the place. So I think like that does make sense, like why they would limit tourists so that way, like you could still see like the beauty and you're not like caught up in like these huge massive crowds.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So that
I
yeah,
like
that
that.
actually makes a lot of sense. I like that too.
Yeah.
It's really
Boundaries.
nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
boundaries. Healthy.
Boundaries.
Healthy.
Yeah, so that anything else about that temple? I don't want to take too much time on this one because
No,
there's
yeah, that was good.
so many other things. Okay. So now we kind of make our way into the heart of Kyoto. So Kyoto does have a little town, and I mean, I guess you could call it a city town, but it's just a very small city. And they have things to see within the city. So the first thing we saw within the city, so within the city you could go to, there's the shrine that I'm about to talk about, but also within the city is that bamboo forest. And they have a lot of cafes within the city. They have, so like if you're looking for green tea, or they had like these green tea ice cream, which to me is like repulsive, but
Oh,
I
I
don't
love green tea ice cream.
Really, you've had it?
Green tea ice cream, yeah. When you go to like
Oh,
sushi places, they have it. So good.
I didn't
Oh,
even know they sold it in the United States. I thought it was just a thing they had there, and I was like,
Oh
"What?
no, they have it everywhere.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't know. It's so gross." But
so
they
good.
they have they have a lot of that. I was like, green ice cream. So like if you're looking for food, this is the place to be. They have a nice like a lot of like cute little bars. I went to some cute little bars there and got some what's it called, that Japanese liquor? I forget what it's called. Asahi.
Sake.
Yes.
sake.
Yes, they have like a lot of sake bars and they're all like really quiet and it's very nice. So I do
Yeah.
recommend the town slash city of Kyoto besides the temple. It's just like the city center. It's very, very cultural. And so one thing that we
Mm.
saw within that city is the Fushimi Inari Taisha Shrine.
Taste.
Yeah, I think, yeah. So the shrine actually is made up of, I believe there's 1,000 of these gates. So they're called torii gates, the like those big Japanese gates, and there's 1,000 of them. So the whole thing is just you walk through these gates.
Ah,
And
beautiful.
Mm.
so it's almost like a hiking trail and it goes on for miles. And we didn't do the whole thing. We turned around like halfway through. So I don't know what the rest of it holds. I know there's a really beautiful view of Kyoto from the top. I've heard there's restaurants and other little shrines along the way as you're hiking it. And but you can turn back and stop anytime. And that's what we did. We did not make it all the way. But yeah, there's 1,000 of these gates and you just walk right through them. It's a nice hike, I guess you can call it. It is a little crowded though. I wouldn't say it's peaceful. You're not gonna walk
Mm.
Mm.
through these. I mean, you could see almost from this picture here, just the crowds
How
of people.
crowded.
Yeah, it's a popular
Yes.
Yeah.
site, popular tourist thing.
Yeah, so once you get into the quote unquote city of Kyoto, that's where things start getting a little more crowded. And yeah, walking through these gates, like it would have been so nice to just get like a picture of like just the gates but that was really not an option. There was
Mm.
just so many people you were walking through in clumps of people. But yeah, I do still recommend it because I mean, it's not every day you get to walk through 1,000 Japanese gates, you know.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
so I did enjoy it. I wouldn't say it was my favorite thing, but it is considered one of the quote unquote must-dos in Kyoto.
Nice.
Any questions about that?
Katie?
No, I feel like,
No?
I mean, it sounds cool. I would probably be stressed out with all the people there because
Mhm.
I'm very claustrophobic, but it is a cool site. I definitely want to try it if I was there.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think I would have enjoyed it a lot more if the crowds were not what they were.
Yeah.
makes sense.
But I don't not recommend it. I would go check it out.
It looks very nice.
It
Actually,
is.
I might have an interesting fact about this place. Is that statue, is that a fox?
I
Is
don't
that
know.
It doesn't look
okay?
like one.
I
What
think I know
is
what this is because I've heard about this. This is apparently a fox shrine
really?
dedicated to a deity of a fox. Yeah, and actually one of the in the early days of Nintendo, the video game company, one of the big people at Nintendo, they're trying to make a video game, and they just weren't I forgot his name, but he was having a lot of trouble coming up with an idea. So he decided that he was overworked and he needed a break. So he went to this shrine, and as he was walking through that tunnel, he came up with a game, and that's where we got it's a very famous game, Star Fox. I don't know if you've heard.
I think I've
So
Uh,
heard of it.
yeah, that old
Oh,
Nintendo game. That's where this comes from, and that's why the character is a fox
mm,
because of this shrine.
wow. That's an
yeah,
interesting fact.
Yeah.
cool.
That's really cool.
I think this is the place.
That would make sense. That kind of looks like a fox. Yeah. Wow. You know more than I do. That's really cool. Yeah, so that's that place and a fun fact for Michael.
Yeah.
And then
Before we move on.
and then like another thing that you need to do in the city of Kyoto is that bamboo grove. So it's that bamboo forest. I believe it's one of the most famous ones in
Oh,
Japan.
look at
It's
that.
yeah,
I definitely got to do that.
this is the one you had a picture of on your Facebook. And I mean, it
It does
looks
look familiar.
yeah. Yeah, so this is the one you had a picture of. The one you had a picture of was definitely very edited, I told you. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Filtered. Yeah,
but
I remember.
it is really, really beautiful. So it's
I was
called,
very disappointed.
but when you go in person, you won't be disappointed. It's the bamboo just towers so high, like it seems like thousands of feet, and I know it's not. It's probably like just like 200 feet. I don't know, but it's really tall, and you're just completely surrounded by the bamboo. And they have some weddings there, and like Japanese weddings, so like everyone's in their like kimonos, and it's really very
That's
pretty.
cool.
Yeah, and it's crowded, but it's not as crowded as the that shrine that I just showed you, the with the gates. It's not that bad. So this is a
Mm.
little more little quieter, a little more peaceful. There are people, it's not deserted, but you could still kind of take in the nature of it.
Mm.
So this one, I don't know if I mentioned it, it's Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. And it's just kind of like you just kind of stumble upon it, honestly. Like just as you're walking down the street, it just kind of turns into it. Like there's just like an entrance. It's just kind of weird. But it's just so beautiful. Like you feel like you're in an enchanted forest. I think if you go to Kyoto, like you absolutely have to go to this bamboo
That's
grove.
amazing. It looks
Mm.
incredible.
It really
Yeah.
is. It's just one of those like unique things that you could only do in Japan. Or I mean maybe you could do it in other parts of Asia, I'm not sure, but it was just very, very unique, very spiritual, very like enchanting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really all I have to say about that. I mean, it's just a bunch of plants. I mean, what more can I really say?
Yeah.
Any questions, comments?
It might just be plants, but it's very, very unique plants. Like I've never seen anything like that
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, it's extremely
I have to see this in person. I can't wait.
unique. Yeah, I know. I hope I'm really inspiring you guys. It's such an amazing trip.
Yeah, I think Michael feels inspired.
I feel very inspired.
You don't feel inspired, Katie?
I feel okay.
You feel okay.
Not
Yeah.
not as much as Michael.
I mean, I'll be honest, Katie, like based on like the trips I've been on with you and like your taste, I think Kyoto fits it best. However, I think Japan as a whole is probably not your taste, but I do
Mm.
still 100% recommend it. I just know from knowing you and going on trips with you, like I know what you're looking for, and it's not really, you know,
I feel like so far with Japan, it seems really cool. But for me, I like to do more than just like look at architecture or look at stuff. Like I like to have an experience and be part of it a little bit more.
mhm.
I don't know if there's something in Japan that includes you in it, I would really be interested. But I could just see me going on this trip and just like walking around and being like beautiful and like
Yeah.
that's it.
I see what you mean. There's not too much of that. I mean, of course, there's like the cat cafes, which are always really fun. We did a cat
That's
cafe.
cute.
Yeah. And then we also did an owl cafe, which I actually don't recommend. It was actually really sad. They had the owls like
Oh,
chained up. It was actually kind of sad.
Oh,
And
That's so sad.
it was really pretty. Like they had like the cherry blossoms around them, so it like gave the impression that the owls weren't like abused.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Clearly they are.
We don't support chaining owls on this podcast.
Yeah, no. And I didn't know when I this was actually in Kyoto. I went to this place and I didn't know it said owl and cat cafe, and it was like a 2-for-1 price. And we were like, all right, could we want to do a cat cafe? We might as well get the 2-for-1.
Mm-hmm.
And
Get the
like,
owl.
yeah, the cat cafe was fine, but the owl, not so much. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
I mean, if anything, I would go to Tokyo Disney and Michael can like go by himself and look at stuff.
Yeah,
oh no, you're coming with me.
Me and you could bring the kids to Tokyo Disney, and the boys can run off and do boy stuff.
Explore nature.
Yeah.
Boy stuff. Like exploring temples.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely want to do Tokyo Disney. Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's not it is a lot of looking at things. Like I'm not gonna it's definitely a trip that's 90% looking at things. Yeah.
Michael likes to look at things though. He's a big looker.
Yeah. I love looking at things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a very like, it's like a more of a spiritual experience than anything. So it's not like a very like adventure trip. I mean, of course, I know a friend of mine, she actually lived in Japan for, I'm not sure how long, but she like studied abroad there and then she wound up going back. And I believe she may have did the Mount Fuji hike. I didn't do that. I think she might have told me that. But I did see Mount Fuji from a distance, but I didn't do the hike. There is a hike of it. So there are like things you can like do. But yeah, generally it's a lot of looking at things and taking in the sights.
It seems like just my kind of thing.
It's really cool. Yeah.
I would completely I would completely settle into that. So much so that I might not come back. Honestly.
I know. I could already tell you're just like really into this.
Oh yeah.
And Katie's like, no, we're not moving there.
Because he's more of a tourist. He's more into like nature, green, and I love it, but only for a certain time.
Yeah. I mean, I was in Japan for like what, 10 days or something. I mean, I think that was a good length of time. And I mean, I would have stayed longer if I could have. I don't think I could have done it for a shorter amount of time. I think like it had to be this length of time or longer. So I think you could, I mean, like I know you said you can't take looking at things for that amount of time, but I feel like Japan, you have to like just suck it up. Because there's just like
maybe Michael could do another solo trip. I don't know.
There's nothing subtle about that, was it?
No, you'll see me in the Toy Story hotel. But anyway, so was that the end of Kyoto?
So that is the end of technically Kyoto, but there was a day trip we took from Kyoto, which was actually one of my favorite things. And so like I said, this is not in Kyoto. It's called Nara Park. And you may have heard of it. It's actually very, very famous. And that's there is like a whole shrine. You can go inside the buildings. There's this big Buddha you could see. And it's really, I loved the Buddha. The Buddha is huge. But the reason this place is on the map for a lot of people is because of the deer. So this is where you can feed the deer, and the deer are just like all over the place. They'll come right up to you. I took a picture with the deer. They're so pretty. Yes, they're everywhere. They actually, these little stands on the side, they sell cookies for the deer. And I would definitely be a little careful. The deer get a little violent when they see the cookies. Like they're not very nice. Like if you don't have a cookie, they'll be nice. But if you have a cookie in your hand, like this girl in the pink shirt here, she was someone on my trip, and she had a cookie in her hand, and I remember this. And all the deer came up and surrounded her, and one bit her in the stomach.
Oh, yeah, they're not joking around.
Yeah, so they want those cookies. So I mean, you've been warned. Also, the deer like paper. They'll steal paper from you. So if you're walking around with a paper in your hand, they'll take it and like eat it. So this was definitely one of my favorite places, but also you need to be really mindful because the deer just do whatever they want. They are wild animals.
Yeah, hide the maps.
Yes, hide your maps, hide your food, hide your kids, hide your wives. It's the deer are a little violent. So that's just something to keep in mind. See, like they're all crowded around the stand here trying to get the food from this man selling it. Yes. It is fun. I guess that's something quote unquote interactive you could do. But it does get a little overbearing because you're surrounded by like hundreds of deer.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, but that's not the only thing to do there. There are these temples. So this is like another like samurai-esque temple you can see. And I don't, do I have the name of it here? I'm not sure if I remember the name of it. The great, Todai Todai-ji temple. And it's the home of the great Buddha of Nara. So like that Buddha I was just telling you about, it's in the Great Buddha Hall. And it's this huge Buddha. It's like, it's bigger than this picture makes it seem. You feel like an ant next to it almost. And so they have a lot, I think they have two, I don't want to say they're both Buddhas because I don't understand the religion, so I don't want to say something that's not true, but they have another statue about the same size of this. I'm not sure if it's a Buddha. I'm not sure if it's another god or spiritual figure to them. I'm not sure what it is, but they have another one. So that I believe there's two of these you can see, and they're huge, tremendous. I walked in and I was like, oh my God. So it's definitely, I'd say I really enjoyed it. I would say it's a must see. I really liked it a lot. And they have like other smaller temples there that you can see. This is another smaller temple that they have there. And just a lot of like buildings. And it's like it's part of it, but it's like not really part of it. So it's just it's a nice place to walk around and explore and get harassed by deer.
Yeah, sounds great.
Yeah. So, I mean, not too much to say about it beyond that. I mean, of course, I'm sure there's a wonderful history behind it, which unfortunately I don't remember because it's been so long, but it's really very pretty. And then I know a lot of people go to Japan just for the deer. So if you're looking for deer, this is the place to do it.
Nice.
Yes. So the next thing that was the last thing we did in Kyoto. So any more questions about Kyoto before I move on from Kyoto and into our next part of the trip?
No, it seems like a really beautiful city. It's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So then we actually wound up going to Hiroshima next, but we had to we didn't have to stop here, obviously. But it was very nice that we stopped here. We stopped in Himeji on the way to Hiroshima. And Himeji, I don't know much about the town. We only did one thing there. So we went to Himeji Castle, which is what Himeji is for. Famous for. Not it's what it's for. It's a town, but it's what it's famous for. So this is Himeji Castle, and it's like a big like Japanese looking castle on top of, I don't want to say a hill, but it's on top of, I don't know, it's elevated somehow, and it's so. If you walk up to the top of the castle, you have beautiful views of the whole city, and so that's actually what we did. And it was really stressful. This was probably my least favorite part of the trip, just because of,
really?
Yeah. So this is another picture of the castle, and it was really beautiful. Like it was surrounded by a lake and they had these big boats and I don't know, canoes maybe. I'm not sure what they are, like Japanese looking canoes. And I don't know what they're called, but really beautiful from the outside. But going inside this castle and climbing up to see the view, one of the worst things I ever did in my life.
Wow.
Because Katie, I get staircase anxiety, and these extremely steep steps and like hundreds of them, and you would just be like, when does this end? And then like on each and then there
sounds
was
like torture.
Yeah, it really was. And there was not much to see in the castle. It was kind of like bare bones inside. So it's not like as we were walking up, we were like, wow, so pretty. Like there wasn't really much to see inside the castle. So it was just kind of like just trying to make it to the top. And like from what I remember, we were not allowed to wear shoes either. So and that would just
makes it worse.
Yeah. So that just made it even worse. And we were like, when is this ending? So like 45 minutes later, we make it to the top, and this was the view. And very, very pretty. I personally, I don't know, like I'm glad I did it, but at the same time, I'm like,
wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
You could decide for yourself. For me, I personally would have been fine with just seeing the outside. But I mean, it is a nice view.
At least you got your steps in for that day, Julie.
Oh, I certainly did. Oh my gosh. That day was a lot. But yeah, that was just a stopover. And I mean, it's a very beautiful castle. Like you can't tell me it's not. So I mean, it was just very, yeah, I don't know, not my favorite day of the trip. But I mean, you could form your own opinions if you want to do it, by all means. So yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have days like that on the trip, you know?
Yeah, it was just a lot.
To be expected.
Yeah, I mean, there's always one day where you're just like, maybe we shouldn't have done this.
Yeah, but it's all learning experience.
Yeah, so I mean, maybe if you still want to see it, just do like a quick drive by. That I mean, I don't know. But yeah, so that was Himeji. That's all we did in Himeji. And then we went to Hiroshima. And Hiroshima, as you probably know, has a history. It was part of World War II. It was bombed by the US, right? Yes. Yeah, it was bombed by the US. So we did not go to Nagasaki. We only went to Hiroshima. So this was kind of like the historical aspect of our trip. But I mean like the historical in terms of World War II recent type things. And it was really interesting going to Hiroshima. It was a very different experience than Kyoto by like a million times. It almost felt like a completely different place. So this was actually the hotel I was talking about before, the one we stayed in here where we had to sleep on the floor. It was like very traditional Japanese. So this picture I'm showing you right now, we would just move this table out of the way and just put out mats and sleep on the floor.
Very homey.
Yeah,
very
so
homey.
this was the whole room. Like this is all it was. So there was no bed. So
very simple, very minimalist.
Yeah, it was a very strange experience. I mean, I'm glad we did it. I actually did see a ghost, and I'm not going to get into this in this episode, and I swear I never believed in ghosts before this, but I saw a ghost at this hotel, and maybe on a different episode I could get into this because it's like kind of a long story. And
we have to talk about this.
Yes, but I don't know. Do you want me to talk about it now, or do you think we should save it for another episode, like a travel? I don't want to say travel nightmares, but like because it wasn't a nightmare. It was like
save it for because we could talk about other stuff that we did that was like insane.
Yeah,
with traveling.
Good.
Yeah, like insane traveling. Yeah, because the ghost didn't try to kill me, so it wasn't really a nightmare. But it was just like, yeah.
See, that's my kind of travel. I think I'd rather go to Hiroshima because of the history and all that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see there's not also like Hiroshima is still more of like a looking at things type of place. But yeah, there's a history that you know about here. So it is more interesting in that sense. But yeah, so I really did like this hotel. It was kind of like luxury-ish. This was our view. The mountains were very pretty with the sunset. And it was called the Aki Grand Hotel and Spa. Didn't do the spa, but it was a really nice hotel. This was probably the nicest hotel we stayed on. It was right on the water. And let me get into Hiroshima first, what we saw in Hiroshima, and then I'll get into Miyajima Island because Miyajima Island is actually part of Hiroshima, and we went there from the hotel. So this was actually, but let me get into the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park first. So this is where they have all the memorials for what happened there, the bombing. You could see that. The bomb dome. This is that picture you see everywhere online when you look up pictures from the bombing in Hiroshima. It's very iconic.
Wow.
So, yeah, and we just walked past it. It's part of, they call it the Peace Park. So I mean, it's really just it's like a normal street, but they call it like a Peace Park because they have a lot of monuments around it, but it's not really a park, I guess. And so of course, the iconic dome, and then they have these memorials, and they said something about this one. I believe like Obama brought these flowers or something, or some flowers here Obama brought, I'm not sure. But and then they have museums in this area. So we did go to a museum, and I think it was a museum like surrounded around this bombing from what I remember. If I remember correctly. It was a nice museum. And yeah, I mean, there's not too much more to say about that. It's just very historical, I mean, there's really only these few things to see here, just these two statues. I believe there's a little pond in the middle, and then there's the big bomb dome. So other than that, there wasn't too much to see around here, but of course it's like a must see, if you're going to Japan, it's like you want to see this.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really humbling seeing this and being like, wow, this actually happened. This was actually a real building, and now it's this from a bomb that people died in. It's just very crazy to think about that, like, you're standing where this happened.
Yeah.
For sure. For sure.
And it was actually interesting because the Japanese are actually very apologetic about it. Like, they don't see it as our fault. They were very, like, almost like they said, like, it's not uncommon for like a Japanese person to come up to you and apologize here about like what happened. Yeah. So it's very strange, like, thinking, because like technically, like, we bombed them. I mean, they bombed us first, but like, so it's just, I don't know, like, we dropped that bomb on them. So but I think they're very like introspective about it, and they see like not what they did wrong, but like, I mean, you know what I mean? So
I did actually I did hear about this, that they are very much into um valuing peace now that they've seen what war can do.
Yes.
They are very into making sure war doesn't happen again, and very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, you really feel it there. They're not bitter about it at all. Like, I expected to go there and everyone be like, curse you Americans, like, you did this to us.
Yeah.
But it was actually the complete opposite. They were like, almost like we did this to ourselves, almost kind of mentality. Like, we don't want this to happen again. So so it's actually like a very different mindset than I expected. So
I feel like it's very healthy.
Very
healthy. I feel like if
yeah.
every country had that mindset, there would be no war, because you take accountability for what you did as well. Like, we're like, you know what? It's okay. Like, let's just focus on peace. Like, I think that's really sweet.
Yeah, I think that's a really beautiful thing that they're able to like look back and say, like, here's how we messed up. We're sorry. We're not going to do this again. This is like because we saw what it did to us. Like, we promote peace. Like, and so it was a very beautiful place to be and see like that sort of attitude, because you don't really see that too much. Like, countries don't really like apologize and think introspectively like that. So it is interesting to see like that sort of peace here. Yeah, the peace park, that's what they call it. So makes sense.
Yeah, any country promoting peace, yeah, that's okay with me.
Yeah, Japan
Michael,
is very much like that.
We're not moving here.
I know. I feel like everything I say, he gets like an inch closer to buying a house there.
Yeah.
Katie's like thinking, maybe this was a bad idea, this podcast.
Oh god.
Yeah, you're probably like, we should have done it last time when he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Funny.
But yeah, I mean, not too much to say about it beyond that. It was just, a very different experience than what I expected.
Very somber.
Yes, extremely somber. So then, on a brighter note, from Hiroshima, you can actually take a ferry, and the ferry is right near there, and it was right near my hotel too. And you could take a ferry to Miyajima Island, and this was actually one of my favorite things on the trip. I don't know if it was my absolute favorite, but it was definitely top 2 or 3. And so you take it's an actual island, so you take a ferry over from Hiroshima to Miyajima Island. And that's where this famous gate is. I'm sure you've all seen this picture before, that Japanese gate in the water with the mountains behind it. So that's where that is. So if you want to see that, you go to Hiroshima and you take the ferry over. And it is called, I always forget the name. What is it called? I have it here. Oh, the Shinto Itsukushima Shrine. I'll spell it. Itsukushima. So that is this famous picture that you've seen everywhere. I mean, my picture quality wasn't that great, but you've all seen it, I'm sure. And then it's actually connected to a larger shrine that you can walk through, and it's a very outdoorsy concept of a shrine. So it feels like you're outside the whole time, and you just walk through the hallways of it. It's very pretty. And it has that huge pagoda that like stands up with multiple levels to it, like very, very Japan. So I really enjoyed Miyajima, because beyond that, there's deer there too. So watch out. One of them actually stole
deer everywhere.
Yes, one of them actually stole my mojito. I bought a mojito, and
Ooh.
the deer stole it right out of my hands.
Wow.
So,
they know what to take.
Me as a deer. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I know, he knows what's up. Yeah, so the deer are everywhere there too. That's again something you need to be careful of. But they do have like a really cute town there. They have like a lot of shops. Some shops are more modern, so like not everything there is like it's been with like the traditional shops. Like some of them are like more modern type shops. They actually had this like 8-level sex shop, which was kind of weird.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so like they're really into that. Like they're very into sex. They have like sex vending machines.
Really, the Japanese?
Yes, just
Such
on
a
the
conservative
streets.
culture, you would think.
I know, yeah, right? But they actually had a lot of that on this island and in Tokyo. And yeah, just on the street, they'll just have like a sex vending machine. Like you'll like use the vending machine and just get
Hmm.
like, but it's like not a vending machine, like one of those like you put in a coin and you turn the thing and then something comes out. So
Mm.
like yeah, and like my friends and I were doing it for fun, and like some of us got like thongs and vibrators, and it's just like
Oh,
it's
wow.
yeah. So that's like a Japanese thing, and I don't know why.
Good for you.
Yeah. I don't know why that's a Japanese thing, but it is. So they have that here. They have that all over in Tokyo also. That was like a very big thing here for some reason. So I wouldn't bring it up if it wasn't a big thing. So
Wow.
that was odd. But yeah, they had like a lot of beyond that. They had a lot of other like nice shops for people that aren't into that. So yeah, so Miyajima Island I really did enjoy. It was like a nice mix of traditional and the more modern type things, but also it was still a really beautiful island and there was the deer everywhere. I really liked Miyajima Island. So any questions about that before I move on? We're making our
No, yeah, yeah, you can
making
move
our
on.
way to the end, yeah. So I know this is a long one, but I'm trying to keep it brief with each place, but there's just so much to do and see in Japan. And I'm going to keep it
Mm.
really brief with this next one because personally, I think this was my least favorite part. But so we did a stopover in Hakone and we did stay over the night. And Hakone is very popular and it's a like a mountainous region. And I mean, it's not the most popular place in Japan, but like if you look it up, like people do go there. And
Mm.
it's like just like a natural type beauty thing. So we went to an open air museum. I feel like honestly they were just trying to kill time. I mean, it was very nice. It was just a bunch of sculptures though. I mean, I don't know, nothing to write home about for me personally. It was just
Fine.
I don't know, it was just a museum. And then I guess the thing that you could potentially write home about here is there's like this valley. It's called the Owakudani Valley. And basically it's a like it releases volcanic gases and it smells like boiling egg. It's like really kind of
Mm.
gross.
Sulfur smell.
Yes. Yeah. And you could ride over it on like a gondola and they actually sell these chicken
Oh.
eggs that are black. They're called like black eggs, but they're like from the sulfuric springs. I don't really get it. I don't know. I'm not into eggs, but that's like a thing here. Like if you go, you get black eggs. I don't know. Not into it. There's also Lake Ashi, Ashi, and from Lake Ashi you can see Mount Fuji in the
Oh,
distance.
nice view.
So
Very nice
yeah.
view.
So that I mean there are some things to do in Hakone and I don't regret going, but it was just not my favorite part of the trip. It's also like where like if you're looking for like a spa, you'll go to Hakone. Like it's that kind of like
Oh, nice.
yeah. So it's more of like a relaxing with nature type thing, but also at the same time, there's not really much to do there. So you're kind of
Mm.
gonna be like a little like bored.
Okay.
If yeah, so I mean, I don't not recommend it, but it would definitely not be the place I would go back to.
It's more for those wanting to go at a slower pace.
Yes, definitely like an extremely slow pace. I would not have spent more than a day here personally. But I mean, I'm sure there's things I've heard there's some really nice areas with spas and springs and whatnot. I don't know, from what I saw, I could skip it personally. Like
Mm.
I think seeing Mount Fuji was cool, but other than that, it was just like, I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of my synopsis of Hakone. I mean, I'm like, I obviously have more to say about it because I spent a whole day there, but I feel like it's just not worth it. So next we went to Tokyo, which I'm sure like everyone waits to hear about because this is their most famous thing. So we spent, I believe, 2 days in Tokyo. And personally, I don't want to say, I think it was enough. Maybe we could have done one more day just because I would have liked to do Tokyo Disney. And
Mm.
there's just like little things I would have liked to do, but I don't think you need that much time in Tokyo. I think you can see a lot of Tokyo in like 2 days, 3 days. You really don't need much more time than that. And I personally, I mean, Tokyo to me, growing up in New York City or like near New York City, it's very similar. I mean, there's not too many differences in terms, I mean, it does feel like a lot more modern. There's a lot of really cool things in Tokyo that you can't do in New York City, but you know, like once you've been to one city, I say like you've almost been to every city. So yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not saying don't go to Tokyo. Like I really enjoyed Tokyo. And as you're going to see, like there are some temples and shrines and things to see within Tokyo and some cool things that are just unique to Tokyo. But I think like, I mean, it's a city, you know, like you know what you're getting.
Got it.
So they do have a very efficient transportation system. So if you're trying to travel by like their train, like subway, I guess, I don't think it goes underground, but like their quote unquote subway, it's a very efficient, comes right on time, leaves right on time, very clean. But I took a taxi, the taxi driver did not know a lick of English, and he wound up dropping us off in the wrong place. So I think they are very efficient with their transportation, but I mean, I'll warn you right there that like if you're gonna take a taxi, maybe brush up on your Japanese a little bit, yeah, because that was, we had to walk a little bit because he dropped us off in the wrong place, but it's fine. But yeah, beyond that, there are a lot of things to do in Tokyo beyond like the typical city stuff. So I'm gonna like move through it kind of quick because I don't want to make this episode go on forever. But there's the Meiji Shrine. I'm not sure if that's how you say it. Meiji Shrine. And so it's basically just like a peaceful escape from the city. It's this beautiful shrine. It's surrounded by a forest. We honestly didn't spend that much time there. I think we went in, I don't remember, but it's really just, it's a shrine. I mean, I'm sure there's a very nice history to it. I unfortunately don't know it, and I don't mean to like bring down its history. I just don't know it. But I mean, it's very, very pretty, nice, relaxing.
Again, very pretty.
Yeah.
All these shrines, very nice.
Nice, relaxing spot to be away from the hustle and bustle of Tokyo, even though it is within Tokyo. So that was just a nice thing to do there. But beyond that, I don't really have too much to say. But this next thing here, Shibuya Crossing, is actually really interesting. So this is actually the busiest intersection in the world, and it has 10 traffic lanes, 5 crosswalks.
Oh my God.
And yes, so I've heard
this is not for me.
Yeah.
Nor me.
It is. I have some videos of walking across it, and it's just a sea of people. And I walked across it several times actually, because it was.
If you want to have a panic attack, that's the place to be.
Yeah, I would hate to drive here. I cannot even imagine what it must be like to drive at Shibuya Crossing, because like I said, 10 traffic lanes. Like that is
God.
Immense.
Insane.
Yes. But walking across it was pretty interesting. Just like being in like a complete sea of people, like you couldn't even see where you were going. And I've actually seen like aerial footage of it, and it's just crazy. If you look at like pictures from above, I didn't see it from above, but I know like some people, like if you go into the buildings, you could like watch from above, and it's just like complete chaos on the ground. So that's something you can do in Tokyo. That's kind of unique to Tokyo, like cross the biggest intersection in the world. I could say I did that, but it's definitely not for everyone. But also next to that actually is that statue. I know everyone's probably heard this story. Or maybe not next to it, but like in the area. It's that dog that you've probably heard the story, and you might be able to honestly like jog my memory. It's this dog that would like go to the train station with his owner every day, and then
I've heard of that.
The owner died, but he kept going to the train station. I think that's the story or something. But Hachiko is I believe the dog's name, and that's where they have a statue of the dog, like in like memorial of him. So so that's like a famous thing that's in this area also. If you're not into crossing the street, you could check that out. Or if you are into crossing the street and you're in the area, check that out. So that's pretty cool. There's also in Tokyo, there's Takeshita Dori Street, and I actually do think I may have pronounced that right. But And
job.
this is like the big shopping street. So if you're looking for like souvenirs or like just fun like things to buy, this is like the trendy place to buy things. And as
I
you
love
can
that.
yeah. So
Me
like
too.
all like those little like Japanese things you're looking for, this is the place to do it. And I mean, as you can see from the picture, it is really crowded. So everything in Tokyo really crowded. I mean, this picture, you just sea of people.
Yeah,
But
it's overwhelming.
you kind of just got to like walk with the crowd a little bit, sneak off into a store, and then join the crowd again.
Yeah,
So,
don't fight with anyone. Don't
yeah,
push. No pushing.
it's unique. It's a unique experience. I mean, just Tokyo in general is a unique experience. There's just so many people. But if you're looking for like all like the fun little Japanese things or like the trendy things to buy, this is where you would do that.
Yeah.
So, not much more to say about it beyond that. I mean, it can be a headache after a while just being there, but I mean, I do recommend it overall. So, we're making our way to the end here. I only have a couple more things to say about Tokyo, just like some more like must-see type things. This is, I believe, the most famous temple in Tokyo. It's the Asakusa Cannon Temple. I may have said that right. Senso-ji is another name for it. And it's that big pagoda that I'm sure you've maybe seen pictures of this. It's like that typical Japanese pagoda looking thing.
Oh yeah,
and
all the time.
yeah, so that's where this is. And it also has like a little shopping area connected to it with like little souvenirs and stuff. I think I bought a traditional tea set there, but they have like so many things. Like they have anime shops and traditional shops and just like anything you're looking for, you could find it here. So I think I got a wallet there too, but they have a lot of like comic type shops. Like if you're into the anime or like Godzilla or like all that stuff, you could find all of that here. So this is the place to do that. They have a lot of shopping.
Gotta go there.
Yes.
Gotta go there.
This is where all your shopping is. Get it done in Tokyo around here. So, I mean, not much to say about that. I don't think we went inside. We may have. I don't remember. I don't think we did though. But yeah, it was really nice. And that's like it is a little more crowded. It's in the city, but really pretty. Any comments about that before I move on? Trying to like speed through these a little bit.
Yeah, can't wait to go there.
Yeah. So the next thing is Akihabara. I think I'm saying that right. And it is the anime capital of Tokyo. So if you're looking for any anime or just any like of that like cartoony type stuff, this is where you go. They have like pretty much every store in this area is selling anime things. So, I mean, I'm not super into anime culture or really at all, but nice. I actually really did enjoy walking through and the manga. I think anime and manga are different, right? I'm not really sure what the difference is, honestly.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I think there is a difference, but like all that's here. And so, yeah, I mean, it was really nice to walk around, even though I'm not into it at all. Just going into the shops, they did have some pretty cool shops, and they good food in the area too. It's actually interesting, all the food places in Tokyo, they put models of the food in the window of like pretty much every single food place. So you know, like before you walk in what you're getting. So that's actually
useful.
Yeah.
Very useful.
Very smart. Yeah. So I mean, they do have a lot of really cool food places in Japan. And I mean, I know I said I didn't eat a lot, but I mean, they have like really unique food places. So that's something you need to check out. But yeah, Akihabara was, I mean, if you're into anime, all that stuff, this is the place to be for you. And then anything to say about that?
No.
Nope. Cool. And then so this is pretty much like the last thing. There's like one more thing I'm going to mention, but the last like real thing we did there was the Imperial Palace Gardens. So this is, I believe, where the emperor lived or lives. I believe that, yes, the Emperor of Japan lives here.
Wow, it looks so dark. I love it. It's like
yeah,
evil looking. It's like an evil looking temple or shrine.
Yeah, I think it was just the weather this day.
Very sinister.
It is a little sinister looking. It's actually in the middle of like these huge gardens. So I mean, I think it was just a gloomy day, which kind of made it look more sinister than it actually is.
You captured that effect.
I
whether
did,
you
right?
wanted to or not.
I know it looks like an evil emperor palace, but but I mean, I don't think their emperor is evil as far as I know. I don't know, but I mean, that's where he lives. But yeah, it's on like gardens. So it's the Imperial Palace Gardens. You can walk through the gardens. This was like that weird ticket situation that I mentioned before. We needed like some weird pass. So that was this. Honestly, I don't have too much to say about this. It wasn't my favorite thing. Like, I'm glad we got to see it. Emperor has a very nice home. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. I feel like I don't have that much to say about it. It was like, I feel like I could have skipped it, but at the same time, like, it's a thing people do. So
Yeah.
yeah. But I mean, it's pretty sinister. So but and they're actually known for their cherry blossoms. I didn't go during cherry blossom season, but if you're looking for some good cherry blossoms, if you're going on it, I believe, like, don't quote me on this, look it up, but I believe if you go like early in May, I believe that's when the cherry blossoms are the prettiest. So I went late May, early June, so they were pretty much all gone by then. But yeah, apparently this place you can see a lot of cherry blossoms. They have historical ruins, modes, art galleries. We saw some people doing some traditional type of martial arts there. I don't know what the Japanese martial arts is, but they were doing that. So it was pretty interesting. I mean, it wasn't my favorite place. I could have probably skipped it, but I do recommend it.
I mean, cherry blossoms. Who doesn't like cherry blossoms, you know?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, I didn't see them because, yeah, like I said, but I mean, if you're here at the right time of year, I'm sure it's gorgeous with the cherry blossoms. It probably makes it look a lot less sinister.
Probably.
And so that kind of wraps up what we did. That night, like the last night in Tokyo, we did take a sunset cruise, and it was really pretty because you could see like the Tokyo Sky Tower, I think that's what it's called, and all like the buildings, and just walking to the cruise was even nice because we got to walk past this giant robot. It was like a life-size transformer. That was really cool. And I think, and just even on the boat, like it was just nice to like sail through the city like last night in Japan, and it was karaoke. You got to do karaoke in Japan. So it was a
Karaoke in Japan.
Yeah,
Nice.
It was a karaoke cruise. So that was pretty cool. And I mean, overall, I mean, there was little things we did here and there that I didn't mention, but I mean, overall, that was my trip.
Wow, what a great trip.
Yeah, so I mean, I tried to keep it as brief as possible, but we just did so many things that it was hard to do that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, if you ever want me to go more into detail with things, I probably could.
Wow.
Yeah. So anything.
So what do you think your favorites and least favorites were?
Okay, so I mean, I kind of like mentioned this as I was going through a little bit, but I loved Nara. I loved Kyoto. Just as a whole, I would go back to Kyoto if I were to go back. Kyoto is where I'd want to go. And even though I feel like I've seen a lot there, I don't know, but I liked Kyoto. I just liked the vibe. It was just very spiritual. Least favorites, I could do without Himeji Castle. I mean, it was very pretty, but like that walking, no, not again. I feel like that one thing, like I don't even know that I had wanted to do it once. I mean, I really liked Miyajima Island, and I mean Tokyo is just like classic. Like you just got to do Tokyo.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, but yeah, least favorites though, I'd probably have to say Himeji Castle, and just like some of the things we just like that Imperial Palace Gardens was fine. It was just like I feel like it would have been prettier if we went during a different time of the year. And it was raining that day, so it was just like overall I was just like, why am I here? You know?
It just happens like that sometimes.
Yeah, it just be like that sometimes. So I mean, yeah, those are my favorites and least favorites, I would say.
Oh, very nice. Any advice for in general?
Yeah, so I mean, like I mentioned before, bring hand sanitizer. Because remember, it's a quiet culture. It's actually largely like a cash society. So you want to have like they do take credit cards, but it is becoming more common, but they prefer cash. So it's like not really what you'd expect. So like make sure you have a lot of cash on you. Also, tattoos are pretty frowned upon. I know, Katie, you have
I do.
significant amount of tattoos. So
wow.
They don't really like that. And actually the hot spring bathhouses, a lot of them they will not let you into.
Wow.
So if you have tattoos, so if you have like smaller tattoos, you could probably get away with covering them with a bandage, but I feel like Katie, you might be out of luck.
Good to know.
Darn it.
Yeah. So I mean,
Oh man,
it's pretty.
can't go to Japan, Mike.
Yeah, and she
Too
sounds
many
a little too
tattoos.
happy about this.
But I feel like if you just like on the street, like if they're showing, it's probably fine. Like I don't think the people are like obsessed with tattoos. It's kind of looked at as like a gang thing there. So like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. So like someone in my group was actually, he was big into tattoos. So he really wanted to get a tattoo there. And he actually had to go to like this like illegal brothel. And then
Oh
like,
gosh.
yeah. And like they were going to do it there. I actually don't think he wound up getting it. I'm not sure. I don't remember.
It's
But
very
like,
sus.
yeah, it's very sus. It's like not a thing you do there. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. If you have tattoos, it's fine, you can go, but just there might be some things you might not be able to do. And depending on like what your tattoo is, like you might get some looks. I don't know. But overall, it's like not really part of their culture. But yeah,
Mm,
those are like some of my most important tips, I'd say.
All right,
very good, very
awesome.
good.
So it sounds like you would recommend this trip for others, but who specifically would you recommend this trip for?
I would definitely recommend this trip for someone who's very into culture. I think it's a very cultural trip, and I think if you're going to all these temples and all these historical places, like you have to kind of be into that. Otherwise, I think you'll just be a little bored, personally. But
Mm,
I I mean, I would say like anyone could really find joy in Japan because like even if you let's say you don't go to any of the temples, which I mean would be a terrible idea, but let's say you don't do that. I think just even in
Katie.
yeah, right. But just even in Tokyo, like you could find so much joy with just like doing other things. Like it's because beyond the it's like so modern and there's like even the bathrooms are an experience. Like it's just
Wow.
the toilets,
Oh
you sit
wow.
on them, they start to sing to you, they heat up. They
If
like
only they had soap. I mean, that's
I
all we're
know.
missing.
That's all the bathrooms were missing was soap. Yeah, but
Wow.
like you sit down on that toilet, you're in for an experience. It's like
Wow.
they have like a whole control panel on the wall with like how loud you want your music, how warm you want your seat. So it's
Wow,
just
wow.
very, yeah, just like everything in Japan from like even if you're not enjoying the history of it, you can enjoy the culture of it because it's just so different from here.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I feel like that's a place that really sucks you into its culture when you're there.
Yeah, I think there's something for everyone. I really do. In certain aspects. I mean, I don't think
Mm.
everyone would find joy in the temples. I don't think everyone would find joy in the bustling city of Tokyo, but I do think Japan as a whole has something for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. Very nice. And would you say that the trip met all of your expectations?
I mean, I kind of went into it with no expectations because I didn't even really want to go in the first place. So I guess you could say it exceeded my expectations because I went into it like
Nice.
having not even really looked up anything about Japan, just being like, all right, I'm going on this trip because my friend said it would be fun. Like that's really
Hmm.
that was kind of
Mm-hmm.
the extent of my expectations.
So
So
your bar was low, basically.
yes, my bar was extremely low, but I'd say it exceeded the bar of like pretty much every place I've been. So
Amazing.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's say you were going to go back again. We kind of talked about it briefly, but what would you do differently? What would you do the same?
What I would do differently, or well, I know for sure what I would do the same is, I don't want to say for sure, but I think it's important to either have a guide if you're planning on going around or
Mm.
learning Japan. Learning Japanese. I think that's really important just because of how difficult it could be to get around if you don't know Japanese. But I mean, I think if I were to go now, I could probably sort of handle it a little better than I would have been able to my first time just because I've been there before. But I mean, it is very challenging for tourists to get around and like I don't think like if this is going to be like your first solo trip or something, like you are in for it, let me tell you.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a hard place to travel if you are not prepared. Other things I would have done differently. I really could have done without Himeji and Hakone. I mean, I don't know. Could have done without him.
Yeah.
Things, yeah. I mean, like a lot of the trip was not under my control because I went with school. So there's not really, I mean, I'd love to, if I could do the trip over, I would have maybe reserved some time to go to Tokyo Disney, but I guess that's a reason to go back now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I'm down.
yeah. So yeah, I feel like that's the only thing Katie's excited for.
No, I think I would go. Here's my thing, right? Like I said, like it's a lot of appreciating the culture, looking this, that, which I think is awesome. But it's just for me, the price for me would not match what we would be doing. So it's like if I'm going to spend, you said it would probably even be doubled in school. Like let's say $6,000 on that. I think for me, it would be a little disappointing. But if that's what you're really into and you're willing to spend that money on doing that, I obviously would say go for it. But I think that's for me the disconnect.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense because it is a very expensive trip. And if you're not totally into it, then it's just kind of like, why did I just blow all that money?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of how I feel. But like I said, like if you're super into it, like that's amazing. But I think I would spend the money to do Tokyo because that's really cool. I would totally do Tokyo Disney. And if I could squeeze in Hiroshima, that would be cool. But I feel like besides that, the temples, like I could appreciate it in a photograph, but then I think that would be another couple thousand more. So for me, that wouldn't meet my priorities.
Yeah, like I did love being in Kyoto, but yeah, like the central thing you do in Kyoto is those temples. And just to get there, it like would cost like a decent chunk of change. And then like, so I mean, Japan is bigger than it looks. So I mean, getting around is not always like the easiest thing in the world. And yeah, if you're not like super into that aspect of the culture, then it might not be worth it, even though I do really think the city of Kyoto as a whole was very nice and quaint, and you really got to see like the authentic Japanese culture, quote unquote. But I could see what you mean about not wanting to like go to a place like that just because the majority of it is stuff that you wouldn't be interested in.
But I think it's what we talked about before. We always talk about it, where it's like in certain areas you splurge more. Like if we're going to Disney, that would be a splurge. Yeah. But then we would be saving on the plane ride. We'd be saving on all the different things and all that stuff. So like we said, it really just depends. I think in Japan, there is something for everybody, and it just depends what kind of trip that you want.
Yeah, it's all about your priorities, which goes to my question is what type of priorities do you usually have when you plan a trip, and did this trip meet those priorities, if you had any?
Yeah, I mean, at the time, I really didn't because I was not super into travel at that point in my life. I hadn't really assessed what I looked for in a trip at that point. I was just kind of like going to go. But so I wouldn't say it really met my priorities necessarily because I didn't set any for myself at the time. I mean, now if I were going to Japan, I think I would set priorities of like things I'd want to see and what I'd want to do. I think it's hard to set a priority of, let's say, like comfort on a trip like this because it's a very different culture. Like you might be like sleeping on the floor. I think that's a very hard priority to set. I think it's also hard to set a priority of convenience for a trip like this because it's a culture where they don't speak English. The vast majority of people don't. So I think that's all. It's kind of hard to set priorities for a trip that's so foreign like this. A lot of this you do have to play by ear. So I think if I did set priorities for this, they would have had to be like very loose priorities, if you will, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's nice though when you don't have very high expectations and priorities. You could really that's also good. It can be a good thing. You could really enjoy a trip.
Yeah, just kind of went with the flow, which was honestly really nice.
Yeah.
Which you're really lucky to do because I think you having no expectations but going to Japan is very rare. And that's something I think you'd really only be able to do in college when you're doing a trip like this, because I feel like most adults, it would kind of be like, if you're going to spend this much money, I need this kind of thing. So I think that's really great that you went at that time of your life where you didn't have those expectations. You're like, here we go. And it was pretty budget friendly, I'd say.
Yeah, I think it allowed me to enjoy it more because I wasn't really like, I just dropped $6,000. This better be the best trip of my life. Like, I'm pretty sure my parents paid for it. I'm pretty sure. I like did not care. So.
Yeah. So that's really great.
Like I was obviously excited to go, but like what happened there, like I was just looking to have a good time. I mean, I was not really like being like, oh my God, I have to see this. I have to do this. I was just like, me and my friend are just gonna have a nice time in a different place. That's really my expectation, what it was. So I guess it met my priority
Nice.
in a weird way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. All right, so I think that pretty much wraps up Japan.
Yeah, that was definitely a long one. I'd say this is probably one of our longest, but
yeah, it's necessary.
I know a lot of people are like crazy about going to Japan, so I really hope this helps some people figure out their trip, what to do, what not to do, and if it's right for you, because I know, Katie, this probably opened up some eyes for you.
As it did Michael, and I think it's very, very polarizing right now.
Michael wants to go more than he ever did. He wants to stay as long as possible, and maybe not even come back.
Wow.
Thanks a lot, Julia.
Whoops.
Whoops.
Might have just ended this relationship.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can compromise.
Yeah, we'll have a discussion. Maybe I keep the kids in Tokyo Disney and you just travel around all the different temples by yourself.
Yeah, I feel like I wouldn't mind just going to Tokyo Disney with you. And that, this actually could work because Donato wants to go too. And he's never done like all the cultural stuff. And like I've already done it. So, like I don't need to see it again. So him and Michael could run off and do that stuff. You and I.
I'm gonna run off with Donato, who I've never met before. And I'm just gonna have a one-on-one vacation with a total stranger.
He's a nice boy.
Well, we'll have a dinner beforehand. So you say, hello, Michael, nice to meet you. We're about to travel together.
Together.
That'd be cute.
And then Katie and I could go do like the Tokyo Disney.
And again, this is going to be years from now. So I'm sure you'll meet him in years from now.
That's a good point. Good point.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, he'll be around. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
All right. Should we get to the country trivia question?
Yes. I actually have not thought about it this whole time because I've been like in Japan mode. But
okay.
Yeah, I mean, my guess I think is going to be wrong, but
well, let's see. So to remind everybody, the question is, what is the first country to grant women the right to vote?
This question actually really upsets me.
I'm sorry. I thought it was going to be a fun thing.
It's not fun when you used to know it and then forgot it.
Oh.
I'm going to say Sweden. I know it's wrong, but
I'm going to say Dominican Republic.
Dominican Republic?
This man with the jokes today.
No, that wasn't a joke. I feel like I've seen this somewhere.
Okay.
That's the name. That's the country that's coming up. What is it? Yeah.
Okay. No, both of you are incorrect. The answer is New Zealand.
I knew that.
Yeah, me too.
Very interesting. I want to know the history behind that and what year. I have no idea, but I just thought that was really interesting.
Well, women got the right to vote in, what was it, 1920-ish?
In America,
US?
yeah.
So then it had to be before 1920.
Right, but how long before? Like, are they that progressive, or is it kind of like 2 years
2 weeks before?
Yeah, 2 weeks before.
Let me see. Vote in.
They're probably like, oh, the Americans are like just about to do it. We should do it before them, so we're first.
Oh, 1893.
1893. Oh, you can see my screen.
Yep.
Oh, they beat us by like 30 years.
1893. Wow.
Wow. Good for them.
30 years. Wait, math. Oh, no, you're right. I was like, Michael, that's 100 years. No, you're right.
Whoops.
No, you're right.
Wow. I'd love to know the history, if it's like the women who really advocated, or if the men were like, no, 100%, we should do, like, I want to know what the vibe was.
Yeah, I wonder if it was like as big of a fight as it was here, or if the men were actually like, no, you deserve it. Like,
yeah. I need to know.
Yeah, I have to wonder. I mean, I'm not reading the whole article, obviously. I just see this sentence here, but it says, despite warnings from suffrage opponents that lady voters might be harassed at ... So I feel like some people didn't want it. Obviously, it kind of sounds like that.
Yeah.
But also, my voice like cracked really weirdly when it said harassed. Did you hear that? It's like disgusting. Don't listen to that. But
anyway,
we'll edit that part out.
Yeah, I don't know how. It's gonna take some like extreme editing.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's really interesting, and I'm disappointed in myself that I didn't know that. But
thank you.
I don't know
Yeah,
why I
good
said
question.
DR.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
I don't think anyone knows why you said that.
Can you look up when
Thank you,
DR
Julia.
gave women the right to vote?
Yeah.
It would have been like yesterday.
2
Yeah,
years
like-
ago. Yeah.
They still don't have the right to vote.
Oh God. I feel like nobody's ever asked this question.
I know.
You should probably type in Dominican Republic
Yeah, wait. Is
because
this...
DR is very
Okay, you're right.
elusive. 1942.
42.
So 20 years after America.
Okay. Like, I mean, at least they have the right to vote there, so you were like on the right track.
It wasn't a horrible guess.
That's very nice.
Now look up North Korea.
Oh my God. I mean, just for fun.
Just for fun. Just for let's see. Oh.
What?
1946?
Gender equality law of 1946.
Although
Women have the same right as men to vote and hold political office, but few women have been able to break into the most powerful offices. Okay, but they could still vote.
Wait, do they even vote in North Korea? I don't think they do.
Yeah, do they even vote?
They don't vote in North Korea.
No. Voting is mandatory. They have to. But
Oh, okay.
I'm sure they're kind of like
you have to vote for the dictator or else you get shot.
Yeah.
But like, why even vote if like the dictator has to win anyway? Like, then what's even the point?
To pretend.
To show that it's the people that
your
are supporting.
loyalty.
Interesting.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, you actually wouldn't expect that women would have the right to vote there. But again, it's like still messed up. So
yeah. All right.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
So Michael's still on the right track in like the weirdest way possible.
No, you're giving him way too much credit for that.
Way too much credit. Thank you, Julie. She tried.
Yeah.
They were certainly not the first, and I'm not even sure if it's really like 100% of a right, really. But I mean, yeah, I mean, weren't wrong.
All right. Does anybody have any last minute comments?
I just really enjoyed finally talking about Japan, and I know it was a lot. I'm sorry, this podcast is like so long. We honestly maybe should have made this 2 parts, but
2.5 hours.
Yeah, easy. But I don't know. I hope this helps plan, and I know this excited Michael, and I hope it excited Katie to some extent.
It really went by quick.
It
2.5 hours.
Yeah, time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it really hasn't been 2.5 hours. At 9 a.m., I was still making breakfast, so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I like cried myself out of bed at 9 a.m.
Yeah, and by the time we stopped chit-chatting, but we'll think about the time later.
Yeah, we always guess the time. So Katie knows the time.
I know the time in my heart. I haven't thought about it yet.
She always knows the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really nice to finally talk about Japan, and after all these years, finally get it off my chest.
Yeah, good for you.
Yeah. And I mean, you may have to listen to this in a few parts, but at least I hope eventually it helps you plan your trip.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
All right. So is that all? Should I give my little speech?
Give your little spiel.
All right. So if you want to find us online, we're at www.runwaysandbyways.com. You can sign up for my budget travel planner. It's a 30-page planner of all these budget travel tips and to help you plan out your money and prioritize so you could figure out how to use your money best on your trip. So you just have to give me your name and email address. You'd get that. You'd also be signed up for my newsletter. And then you can sign up for podcast notifications as well on my website. So same thing, name and email address, and you'll get notifications every single time I post a podcast. We also have travel planning services such as Choose My Destination, recommendations, and advice. So if you need any of that, you can go onto my website. Social media, you could find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Pinterest at Runways and Byways, or you could find us at Runways and Byways on Twitter. And for podcast availability, as you probably already know because you're listening to us, but if you don't, you could find us on Spotify, Apple, Anchor, which is now Spotify for podcasters. So I don't know, same thing, whatever. And YouTube and Google Podcasts. We're working on getting on iHeartRadio, so I'm going to just keep throwing that out there. I hope they're listening because they keep denying me. It's my fault though, because I gave them the wrong email and I tried to fix it and then it got all messed up. I don't know if I ever said that before. I've been blaming them for like 6 weeks, but I feel like I should be honest. It was my fault.
It was my fault.
Maybe now they'll be like, all we wanted was accountability.
We just wanted an apology.
Now we'll do it. Just stop blaming us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all I have to say about that. So
all right.
That is my spiel. And to whoever yawned during that, I think it was Michael.
It was Michael. I looked at him.
Very rude.
Wait, what? I didn't hear you guys. What did you say?
Oh, I was saying to whoever yawned while I was saying that was very rude.
I didn't yawn.
Totally Michael. I looked at him. I was like, Michael.
I did not yawn right now.
You yawned.
It was like,
he played the tape. You know that was him.
It was like a full-on yawn.
I didn't yawn. I don't remember yawning. I yawned.
Don't gaslight us.
Roll back the tape. You can hear it.
Roll it back. I'm not afraid. I know I didn't yawn. I know when I yawn.
No, he's a big yawner. He gets very tired.
Maybe I was just breathing. Maybe that's just I breathe funny.
You do, but that wasn't it.
It was like a very audible yawn. It was like,
why would I do that in the middle of your thing?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what we're saying.
I think it was Katie, honestly, Julia.
Julia, it wasn't me. You could even roll back the tape in my face when he did it. I was like, oh.
So funny. Yeah, this does actually, when I finish recording it, it gives me an audio and a video version. So
okay.
I'll catch the culprit.
Okay.
We'll let you know.
We'll send it to you.
Yes.
It might have been me. It might have been me, honestly. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Now that you know there's video evidence.
Yeah. Sorry, Julia.
He's not sorry because he did it. He's sorry because he got caught.
Exactly. Red flag.
Red flag. The first red flag of the relationship.
Yeah. This is deal breaker territory.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'd say so.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
I'm nervous now.
Good. No more yawning.
Ever. Hold it in.
Actually, I did have to sneeze in the middle of the. Oh wait, we're still recording. Okay, never mind then.
What?
What? You can't say it in front of the camera.
Couldn't say it.
Moving on.
Okay. The world may never know. On that note, I kind of want to know this story, so I think we're gonna go. So thank you for tuning into the 20th episode of the Runways and Byways podcast. Woo! And we hope to have many more. So yes, thanks again for joining, and we hope to see you on the next episode of the Runways and Byways travel podcast. All right, bye everyone.
Bye.
Whether your plane is taking off from the runway
or you're driving down a byway,
we'll be your guides
through it all.